in a world full of negative people. Hey man, I'm just trying to be a positive guy, a positive farmer, a positive outfitter. This is the Shark Farmer Podcast with your host, Rob Sharkey. Whatever.
And welcome again to the Shark Farmer Podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Rob Sharkey, and today we're going to go out to Chillicothe, Ohio. We're going to be talking to Brian Brown. How you doing, Brian?
Pretty good. How are you, Rob?
I can't complain. I actually live by Chillicothe, Illinois.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit further away, a little bit different area.
Have you heard of it? Is it like a sister city? Do you guys have those?
No, I've never heard of Chillicothe, Illinois, but I have heard of Chillicothe, Missouri a few times. I wasn't aware there was one in Illinois. I guess it never comes up like if I Google like a restaurant or something in our town.
If you Google a restaurant in Chillicothe, Ohio, you get a restaurant in Chillicothe, Missouri.
Yeah. Funny story. One time I was ordering pizza, so I didn't have Pizza Hut's phone number. I just Googled Pizza Hut Chillicothe, called them, ordered a pizza. 30 minutes later, I show up at our Pizza Hut, and they're like, we don't have any order for you. I was like, I ordered it. Yeah, ordered Chillicothe, Missouri. So didn't get pizza that night.
Okay. I mean, you didn't notice the area code and all that stuff?
No, I do look at it now, though. Since then, I always check, but no, I didn't notice it.
Do you know Pizza Huts, even though they're a franchise, they have individual owners, right? And so like an owner is like living and dying off these sales. And what if like the one pizza that would have kept him in business was the one that you didn't pay for?
Oh man, I feel bad now.
I don't think you do. I don't know you that well, but you don't really sound that sincere.
Yeah. I'd say he'll probably be all right. I mean, if that's the case, they could send me a bill for the pizza.
It's that type of attitude that got us Domino's pizza.
I actually like Domino's better anyways. So.
Oh, this is not going well. Let's go right to the ad. Do you know what's better than Domino's and Pizza Hut pizza?
No, I do not.
That would be Degelman Equipment. You've heard of them, right? They're the yellow stuff. The main place is out of Regina, Saskatchewan. It's a city that rhymes with fun.
Okay. Actually, that was going to be my first guess. I wasn't sure if that was going to be correct or not. So.
Your first guess was going to be that they were from Regina.
Yep.
You're just a master of pizza in odd-sounding cities, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I've got the Google in front of me, so actually I Googled it real quick.
Is that what it is? Degelman's, they make all the stuff, the cool stuff that you pull behind your tractor. I mean, everything from like the bulldozer blades. I guess you push that in front. Don't call me out on this stuff. You know what I had this spring, though, is they let me use one of those land rollers. You ever use one of those?
No, but I've seen them, though.
Yeah, I know. It is not a thing here like in the ice states, I don't think. I know out west and like up in Canada, they use them like crazy. But after using them this spring, I'm not sure why we have never used them here. My fields, one thing that I can grow really well is rocks. And I swear, I do not know where they come from. I pick them up every damn year. I am like anal retentive about stopping the tractor and picking up rocks. I am nuts. I send my kids out on the gator. I said, pick all the damn rocks up. But every year I get a new crop of them again and again and again. Well, this year we smashed them down to the ground with this roller. So I'm kind of looking forward to cutting beans this year.
Yeah, that would be nice if you could cut beans without picking up any rocks. That's a fact.
They don't really do well in the combine, the rocks.
Well, it depends on what kind of combine you got. I mean,
no.
No, you're right.
I don't know what kind of plaid combine you have, but any combine I've ever heard of does not do well with a rock rattling around in it.
They do tear things up.
Have you ever run one all the way through?
No, I've never, knock on wood, I've never got past the rock trap. So.
There is never a worse sound in the world than you hear one going down and you hit everything off, right? But you can hear underneath your seat first, and then you just hear this death rattle as it goes all the way through, and they're seeing dollar signs in your head.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. Now, okay, here's the thing. They talk about the yield bump with these rollers. I can't tell you if there is one or not. I'll tell you here in a little bit because we use it on all the beans, and like every field we did, around 15% of the field we left unrolled. So we'll see if there's any difference, but I can't sit here and tell you that I've seen any yield loss or gain from these things, but I'm interested to see it.
Right, yeah.
We were going to go and we were going to do it before we planted corn because you're supposed to do it after you plant beans, but before you planted corn. But I don't know how your spring was this year, but my spring did not work out to mess with it.
Kind of how ours was. It seemed like it was very, very rainy this year. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you should go buy a bunch of Degelman stuff. Like, if you could buy one thing, I mean, they're awesome tools, but they're to guys like us are kind of toys. So, what's like the one thing you would buy from these guys?
I think don't they make a pretty impressive high-speed disc?
Yeah, and I'm hoping to get one of those this fall.
That's something I would be interested in because we run a vertical tillage. I don't know, there'd be times where it'd be nice to be able to throw a little bit more dirt, maybe. So.
Yeah, like those Pro-Till things. I wanted to try one of those out, but my biggest tractor is a 9200, which we've got it jacked up a little bit. So it's around like 325 horse, but that's it. And the stuff that they had available was bigger than that. If they just bring something out for me to use, I'll just take the torch and cut some of the ends off, and it should be fine.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Degelman's. Yeah, go to degelman.com and look at all the fun stuff. You can look at that stuff all day. All right. So, Brian, you're out there in Chillicothe, Ohio. You are currently farming, correct?
Yep.
Were you the stereotypical farm kid growing up on the farm?
Yeah, I'd say so. Probably pretty accurate description.
So, did you go off to school?
Yeah, I went to Ohio State for 2 years after high school and then came back to the farm.
What are they, the Buckeyes?
Yep. The Ohio State Buckeyes. You get that "the" in their part.
Is there an Ohio State without the "the"?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you just...
It says it right on the sign.
So you're just using a superfluous direct article.
Listen, I didn't do so hot in English, okay? I was an agronomy major, so...
Okay. All right. Well, it says a lot about Ohio. Okay, so but when you went off to school, I mean, did you know that you were going back to the farm?
Yeah, that was always my plan.
Okay, did you ever want to do anything else?
Not really. I mean, maybe whenever I was a kid, I thought that, oh man, being a historian would be fun because I've always been kind of a history geek. The more I aged, the more older I got, the more I just realized I liked farming better.
I bet you I know one of your favorite movies.
What's that?
Ah, damn it. It's the Nicolas Cage one where they follow all the clues.
Oh,
National Treasure.
I did like that movie, actually.
Yeah, see, I know you would. When you say you're history buff, are you American history or world history?
American history. Mostly from like the 17 to 1800s into the early 1900s is kind of what I always like to read on and study, I guess.
Honestly, the way we became a country is beyond fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people would benefit from learning some American history. That's my thought on it anyways.
Well, that, and you look at what you do, right? You look at what you built and your family's built on that farm. I mean, could you imagine just walking away from it and going to fight for freedom?
Yeah, I've thought about that. It would be very difficult to do, and I can't say enough good things about the people that have done that. But it'd be a challenging experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would like to think I would do that, but I'd probably be scared.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you went off to school. What was your major again?
Crop production.
Okay, I didn't even know that was a major. That's like
basically an associate's degree for agronomy.
Oh, okay. So you got your degree. Now, all right, take me through this deal, right? Because there's got to be some conversations with you and your family about your coming back. Was it always a deal where you're just coming straight back, or did they want you to go work somewhere else for a while?
It was pretty much coming straight back. At the time, it was my dad and uncle running the farm, and it was just kind of shorthanded anyways. And my uncle, he actually got sick and passed away my last year of school. So when I came back, I was just right back into the seat like the day I got home. So
you're not a very old guy, are you?
29.
Good.
29.
29, just a damn kid. One of those millennials, huh?
I am one of those millennials.
Yeah, that's a little scary. It was your dad and your uncle that were farming together. Was that right?
Yep.
Okay. And then your uncle passed away. That had to be a tough transition for the farm.
Yeah, it was, especially that first year. He passed away in January, and I got home from school end of May. So, that first year, everything was just kind of chaotic for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's odd, but in the timing, it probably worked out pretty well for your dad because he had to be, I don't know. I can't imagine. I farm by myself, and I always think about people that farm with, a brother or a partner or whatever. And then to change all that just like that by having someone pass away, I mean, that's got to be something that your dad was pretty worried about.
Yeah, it was definitely a stressful time. I mean, it took a couple of years to really get used to the transition. I mean, at the time, I was a 20-year-old kid. I didn't know near as much as I thought I did. There was a lot of learning, and it worked itself out. So.
Yeah, when you get out of college, you kind of think you know it all, don't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was definitely probably guilty of that, but
I know when I came back from school, it was like, I learned some stuff and then I was going to go back and I was going to change the farm for good. And then my dad was like, no, you're an idiot. We've tried that. It doesn't work. I mean, did any of that go on when you returned?
a little bit. But one thing I realized when I was at school was just how regionalized different kinds of farming were. The Ohio State branch that I went to was only 2.5 hours from the house. But, I mean, tillage practices were different. The type of weed pressure they had was different. I mean, there was just a lot of different things. And some of those classes were pretty hands-on. So I kind of knew at the time that, man, this is a lot different than how we do things. And some of it I knew wouldn't be applicable to our operation. I did have some ideas of things I wanted to try and do. And then, yeah, basically just shut down, like you said.
Is this a multi-generational farm?
Yeah, we've lived on this farm for 4 generations. I tell everybody I'm a 4th-generation farmer, but I know we were farming before we bought the home farm, I call it. So I really don't know how long we've been farming, to be honest with you. I can't find any history past the 4 generations. So.
Yeah, and you're a history guy. You probably looked all in genealogy stuff that you guys do.
I haven't looked at the genealogy stuff, but I have tried to find some stuff and just haven't had much luck with it. So.
Okay, so where your farm is, I mean, what kind of ground is that?
We are right where the farmland meets the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Everything's either flat or it's a baby mountain, and we have every kind of soil you can imagine. But the more I'm into YouTube, the more I hear everybody say that. So I don't guess that's any different from most places. It seems like everyone thinks their ground's different. But we have a lot of sandy ground. Like this spring, for example, we were able to get on fields a lot sooner than other people just because we had a lot of gravelly, sandy bottoms in the river, on the river area. Once you get towards the hills, you get a lot heavier dirt. Just a little bit of everything.
I've never heard of a baby mountain.
Yeah, that's what I call them. They're not mountains, but they're a little bit bigger than hills.
You can't farm those, though, can you?
Nope, unfortunately not. It's a beautiful place to live, but as a farmer, it'd be a lot more productive if they were flat, I guess.
Have you tried just like taking a dozer to them?
Well, we have a full line of construction equipment, so we have tried.
Honestly, I bet you Degelman's could set you up with something, and you could take those baby mountains completely out.
Yeah, we need a pan and like a 600-horse tractor, so if they could fix that up, that'd be great.
I'll talk to him. I'll see what I can do, okay?
There we go.
He's to try to help a brother out. All right, so tell me, why did you want to get into farming?
Well, when I was a kid, basically followed my dad everywhere. I mean, I just completely idolized him. I mean, I would see him on the tractors that I was playing with in the living room. So, like, he was always my hero. And then I see my uncle working right beside him. So, I mean, I idolized both of them. And one of my other uncles would help. So those are the people I looked up to the most. I mean, some kids idolize athletes and stuff, and I always looked up to farmers. So, I mean, I got to know all the farmers around here. Most of the people I knew growing up as a kid were above age 50. So, I mean, that's just who I was around all the time. And it's a pretty natural transition to, I'm going to farm. I mean, that's just all I've ever been around.
Your dad and your uncle, was that always grain?
No. Whenever I was 9 years old, we had a pretty bad drought, and that was pretty much the end of our cattle. At the time, we were growing as a grain operation, so all the effort and resources were really being put into that. And in 99, that's when the drought happened. We didn't have any hay, and all of our hay equipment was 20, 30 years old. Mm-hmm. All the fences were in disrepair, so they just made the decision to go ahead and get out of the cattle business.
That's good for you. You wouldn't be able to do this YouTube stuff with that. I mean, those cattle guys actually have to work for a living.
I know. They have to work like 12 months out of the year. When do you go to a farm show?
I don't know how they do it. It's like every day they got to do something. It's crazy.
I tell you.
So, I mean, there was never a question in your mind. You're Brian, you're going to be Farmer Brian someday. Pretty much. And I remember in high school, they'd ask you, what do you want to do for a living? I want to be a farmer. And it's just like it would blow their mind. Like, you're not going to put more thought into it? And that is like, no, I've thought about this for a long time. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. let's switch gears a little bit. So tell me about this YouTube thing. Why did you start doing YouTube videos?
Well, it started last spring. The channel didn't even really start as a farm channel. At the time, I was going on a lot of hiking trips and stuff. I was like, it'd be pretty cool to film some of these. My
Hiking
wife
trips.
wasn't able to. Yeah.
You were one of
walking
those guys. You were like the Bob Ross of farming videos.
I don't know about that, but I kind of got into it for the fitness aspect of it. I mean, I like walking around the woods and stuff when I'm hunting, and hunting season's only so many months out of the year. I don't really get to do it much anymore. Started filming some stuff on that. I was like, I'm just going to film wheat harvest this year. That was in 2018, and at the time the channel wasn't very big at all. Like, I think the most views I got on a wheat video was like 200 views. And the people that were watching it were really just family, close friends, and stuff like that. And I realized that these people have known me all my life. They were really learning a lot from these videos. They didn't really understand what we were doing or why we were doing things. I was like, man, if these people have known me that long don't know this, I wonder what people that aren't around a farm or around a farmer, I wonder what their perception of agriculture is. So it kind of just led to what it is now.
You hit the nail on the head. It amazes me that I don't realize this sometimes. I mean, yes, we're just around it every day. I know how a combine works. You spend how many hours in it every fall. You just get so used to it. It's something that, you get frustrated with because you generally have to fix or whatever, all this stuff. We don't realize once you get outside of agriculture, just they don't even grasp any of what it does. And to have some of that explained to you, to just the average person, is fascinating to them.
Yeah, and I mean, I really didn't even know there would be a market for it. I mean, like you say, you just take it for granted. You're around it every day, and then, it's interesting and good that people find what we do that interesting, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you're a very unattractive guy. I mean, did that worry you?
A lot. I was like, good God, who'd want to look at me? I might even break the camera. And kind of tall, kind of chubby, kind of furry. Don't talk all that well. Yeah, I did not think it would work at all.
I'm joking. It was actually nice to meet you at the Farm Progress Show. And it's funny, the different like little sectors of ag social media or whatever, and you don't always know everybody. I mean, here you are, you're this big YouTube star or whatever, and I'm glad that you introduced yourself. And then I went home and I just started watching your videos. And then, how YouTube is like a giant time suck. I hate it for that, because then, when one of these videos stops and the other one starts, and all of a sudden I've watched you like for 17 hours.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say that like I was proud of it.
YouTube definitely has a way of doing that. You go to watch a 5-minute video on how to fix something. Next thing you know, it's 2 hours later and you're still there.
Oh, and over on the right, how they do you might also like, like, oh, here's Andre the Giant wrestling Hulk Hogan in WrestleMania 2 or whatever. Oh, let's watch that. You YouTube guys are just taking all our damn time. But all right, so you got going. You were doing your nature hikes, and then you started doing wheat harvest. So at what point did you realize that people were actually going to watch you describing your farm?
Well, like I say, the wheat harvest, it was basically just family and friends that were watching. And I didn't really make any videos like of any other summer activities. And then I made a quick video of like harvest preparation, and it got a few views. But then I just kind of, off a whim, decided I'm going to make a video every day at harvest. So I made a video every day from like September 24th to like January 6th, because we had a long harvest last year. Like on day, I don't know, probably the second or third day of harvest, I mean, I probably picked up 1,000 subscribers, and I was like, wow, might turn into something. So it's kind of encouraged me to keep going with it.
Okay, making the videos, fine and dandy, cotton candy, but you got to edit those things, right, and put them up. I mean, where were you finding the time to do all this stuff?
Well, during harvest, I spent a lot of time running the grain bins. If I'm not in the combine, I'm usually running the grain bins. So if I was dumping a truck, I would just work on it for 5-10 minutes here and there. So if I started on it from the time I woke up, I could usually have one done by the time I was done for the day.
Okay, so I mean, you were putting some time into it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was usually just a few minutes here or there. I edit everything on an iPad, and it seems like the more we get into agriculture and technology, the more stuff needs an iPad. So I always have one with me. So that helps a lot.
How long did you keep this up, the video a day thing?
Till the end of harvest, and I was pretty tired of doing one every day. I probably shouldn't have done one every day. Like when I said that, I meant it, and I did one even on days we didn't harvest, and that got kind of old.
Here we are in the shed again.
Yeah, usually we have a harvest. We might get rained out 2 or 3 times, and then we just work there every other day. Last year, we probably had like 30 or 40 rainouts. So.
And you were checking out a video every day.
Yep.
Sounds riveting.
Yeah.
Now you're married, right?
Yep.
Okay, and a kid?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids. How old?
Yeah, actually, put me on the spot here, Rob. 6.
Well, I mean, it's not a big question.
6, 4, and 9 months. So we actually had the last one during harvest.
That's on you. That's bad timing. That's bad planning. That's everything bad on you.
Yeah, she was born December 3rd. I was like, that'll be fine. Well, not last year.
You got to think about this stuff. You've got a family, and of course you got to spend time with them too. So how's that working? You're farming now. Now you are dedicating a lot of time to YouTube. How's that work with the family life?
Well, usually I will work on the videos after the kids go to sleep. They don't really lose a lot of time with me. My wife's probably the one that it affects most. I mean, I doubt she really wanted to see me come home late at night and then spend an hour sitting on an iPad. She's been real supportive of it so far. So,
I've interviewed several people, not just YouTube, but, podcasters, ones that were big on social media or whatever. It seems like whether the spouse is supportive or not is a big deal. I mean, that can almost push you to the next level, or that could end you too, because you got to get your priorities right. And happy wife, happy life. Unhappy wife, you're moving to Chillicothe, Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, having a supportive spouse is everything. I mean, it would be very hard to do what I'm doing. Just asking her to be supportive in the farm is one thing, and then when you take even more time away, it's a challenge for her. But she's been supportive pretty much from the get-go. I think at first she thought it was kind of maybe a fad or a waste of time. But, I mean, then as we started to grow, she realized that, there really is something there. So,
on the other side of the glass here is Mrs. Shark Farmer. Are you listening to what he's saying?
I am listening to what he's saying. I mean, it's funny because I felt the same way. I wasn't sure when you first got started, but I was supportive. And then as you kept meeting new people and doing new interviews, and it was just fun. So I guess I just enjoyed it. Here's
the thing, Brian, when we barely fight, I mean, I can count on one hand how many fights we've had. Actually, probably I can think of 3. One of them was about the podcast when I started, and it was, should I allow cussing or not? Now, was there ever any of the thing with you and your wife as far as what you should allow content wise?
I mean, I've always asked her opinion on things or for input. Back to the cussing. I mean, when we were a smaller channel, it was a little bit more raw. And, if you're around the farm, you're going to hear, we call them working words because that's what my son started calling them. He comes around with us, he's 4 years old, and he said, "Daddy, are you using working words?" I was like, oh, man. At first, that stuff would be in there. And then, she kind of pointed out, and then I started getting a lot of comments about people's kids watching them, how they love the channel. So I was like, oh, man, we're going to have to tone that down. So, we've never really had a fight about it, but she's given me some input and stuff. So
that's the thing, because you don't ever really expect kids to watch what you're doing. I don't know if your mindset was like mine. You're just a farmer out there screwing around, and you never really expected to be taken seriously, and you never expected actually to get an audience of kids that listen to you regularly.
Yeah, for sure. And at first I wanted to keep it I still try to keep it as real as possible. That's basically the only thing that's different is, I don't put the some of the choice language in there, but whenever I was growing up, that was just part of it. You would learn some new words if you went to the shop.
What's the game plan going forward with your YouTube?
Well, I intend to do another harvest vlog this year. It'll be pretty similar to last year, only maybe we'll take a rain day off every now and again. Plan to keep moving forward basically like we're doing. Still thoroughly enjoy it. That's one thing that's made it easy to keep doing. I enjoy the process. I enjoy filming. I enjoy editing. So harvest will be starting here in probably a couple weeks. After that, we always have some shop work. That was one thing I was thinking, man, how am I going to keep videos in the wintertime? But it just seemed like we never really slowed down much. So
yeah. It kind of reminds me of Ag Twitter maybe 4 or 5 years ago. more of a startup, and it seems like there's definitely a community involved with this. Now, when you're putting out videos, I saw your last one, and you had a former guest, Andy Detweiler, on. Now, is it a deal where you're going around and meeting some of these other YouTubers?
Andy lives fairly close to me, actually, so that just worked out pretty good. But like if we're at a farm show, I'll try to get together with as many other YouTubers as I can, just because basically the only time we'll all be in the same place. Some of us will chat on Instagram or whatnot. I mean, it's good to get to know them guys. I mean, you can bounce ideas off of them. There's really no written book on how to do this. It's good to compare notes and stuff. So.
Andy uses a lot of working words.
Yeah, he fit in pretty well around here.
Now, I saw one of your videos there, and you're also like talking about seed days or something. Does your farm involve like a seed sales?
No, we aren't in seed sales. We've had a pretty good relationship with a smaller seed company. It's pretty local here called Seed Consultants, and they've always had a test plot on our farm since it started. So they just have a field day here at the farm every year.
Are you getting hit up for stuff like that? Say, hey, here's our new wrench. Why don't you use it in your video?
Somewhat, yeah. It's kind of a strange thing. Like you said, I'm just a farmer. I never thought I'd be in the advertising game or anything like that, I mean,
That begs the second question is, how do you decide what to do? Because, if you have, I don't know, the worst wrench in the world, do you really want to put that out there and say, hey, this is great?
No, I'm very selective. I mean, if you start a YouTube channel or anything where a company wants to send you something, the first product someone ever sent me was a set of lights, and I was super excited. I was like, oh, wow, yes, I'll take your lights. And then I realized it was a $10 light on Amazon, and I was like, man, I just committed to making a video on these lights. They ended up being a great light, but, I mean, that kind of taught me a lesson. I'm not going to take a product that I wasn't at least interested in before and that we weren't already using.
A light? What, like a lava lamp?
No, like a light bar for a piece of equipment.
Oh, but you can find those for $10?
These ones were.
Okay.
I think it was 2 for $20. So.
Actually, I might have to get that from you after this show. It's funny to me watching this whole thing play out because you've got these companies that are realizing that there's people like yourself out there that are getting, a lot of attention, and now they don't know what to do with you because most of these companies deal with ad agencies. Ad agencies don't know the first damn thing about agriculture, and all of a sudden you got a company says, hey, we want to do something with this YouTuber, and then you've got you that's never dealt with them and them that's never dealt with you. How do you navigate all that?
That's where having a relationship with other YouTubers is great because, I mean, it's really uncharted territory. I mean, I don't know how to put a value on my YouTube channel, thing like that. So, I mean, I'm still learning that. I don't really have a good solid answer for you, unfortunately.
You get paid from YouTube too, don't you, if you're big enough?
Yeah, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and you have to have 4,000 hours of content that's been watched. So how that works is after you've reached those milestones, they will put ads into your videos, and then you get a little bit of revenue from those ads. You don't really have any control over what ads in your video. Sometimes you'll see an ad. People have messaged me, well, there's a Ford ad in your video, and I'm a Chevy guy through and through. I'm like, well, I don't have any control over that. So
I think from the ones I watched, most of them were seed companies. I think there was an FBN one. So those are kind of like the ads that I was seeing. Are ag YouTubers are just okay with that? Or like, hey, it is what it is. People are going to understand that we don't have control over those?
What do you mean, I guess?
Well, like you said, you're a Chevy guy and they put a Ford. Is that something that you just accept?
Yeah, because you don't really have any control. Like how the ad space works, I'm pretty positive I'm telling you this right, that basically companies bid on the ad space for your video. For example, you'll make more money on one video than you will another one just because they bid it up higher for some reason. There's really nothing you can do about it. I mean, it is what it is.
All right. I asked the same question when I interviewed Mike Less. I was looking through his YouTube page, and I kind of noticed the same with yours too. Not always, but kind of. Why don't, when you put the little picture of your video, like, that they click on, I guess it's like the teaser picture or something. Why isn't there a picture of a piece of equipment on every single one? Because those are the ones that are getting the higher views.
Yeah, I mean, people definitely like to see machinery. I mean, that is a fact. I mean, if we're using machinery, I'll usually have that as the thumbnail picture. But here lately, we're building a grain bin, so there's not really a whole lot of big machinery being used other than a forklift.
I'd still put a picture of Big Bud. Screw the people. They'll figure it out. I guess what has surprised you about this whole thing with your YouTube channel?
One thing that surprised me was just the ability to interact with people from across the globe. I mean, I realized that I was probably going to get some questions from family and friends because, I mean, I would share my videos on my Facebook page and they would see it. But, I mean, it wasn't very long before I was talking to people in Germany, Australia, just all over the place. And it was pretty surprising. It's pretty cool to learn about how they do things on the other side of the world. And then another thing that kind of surprised me was just all the positive support. I mean, you see in the news where, I don't know, sometimes they kind of portray us in a bad light, I think. So I guess I was expecting more trolls or more hate in the comments, but everything's been pretty supportive so far. So,
are you afraid that's coming?
I mean, I'm sure it will. I mean, I've had some. Don't get me wrong. I've actually got more hate on posting a video of a going deer hunting than anything.
You monster.
Yeah.
Well, as you look at all of, especially in agriculture, the social medias and how it follows, I mean, you get going, they get big, and then it seems like they figure out the bots and the trolls and all that stuff. So I've been curious about that on YouTube, whether it's going to start doing that and how their filters. I'd say, Facebook actually does a pretty decent job of where you can control your comments and stuff like that. Is that the same on YouTube?
Yeah, you can put keywords it'll flag a comment, so where you have to approve it before it can be displayed to the public. So, like, if you don't want any foul language, you can type that into a comment filter, basically, and you can either approve it or delete it. Pretty good job on that. And then they also
come on, man. Tell me a keyword that you got in there that you flagged.
I don't have anything in there
Nothing?
yet. I probably should. No, nothing's in there yet. They do have a spam filter, so sometimes they'll throw the weirdest comments in the spam filter that are perfectly fine, and then sometimes it's just a tirade that someone's wrote that has nothing to do with the video. So,
can you put 2 words together and say, "Hey, I want to kick those out"?
I think you can just flag it to where you have to approve it.
Okay, so I would suggest flagging the words "Buckeyes suck."
Yeah, that'll probably start heating up here in about a month, or probably now, actually. It is football season. So.
Who's your audience?
Unfortunately, there's no analytics for. I'd like to know how many of them are farmers versus non-farmers. I've asked a few times, you can manually put a poll in a video where people can choose to participate or not. And it actually came back where 60% of my audience was farmers. Mm-hmm. But that was a year ago now, so I don't know what it would be now. Mostly it's adult males from age 18 to 35, I believe, just going off the analytics.
Well, I could see why women want to watch you.
Yeah, I keep looking for that number to go up, but it's sticking at 4% of my audience. So.
You don't get riled too much. Here I've been poking at you the entire interview, and you just let it roll off you.
Yeah, I'm a pretty laid-back guy.
Do you got to have thick skin to have a YouTube channel?
It definitely helps.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get some criticism about things you wouldn't expect. I mean, anything that's out of place in the background that you wouldn't even think about, someone's going to find.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, you are the dumbest farmer in the world.
Correct. And you're going to get questioned on your farming practices and stuff like that. And that's where it goes back to where I learned how regionalized farming is. Last fall, I don't know how many people asked me, why don't you just put it in a grain bag? Why don't you just put it in a grain bag?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no one around here puts corn in a grain bag. So, I mean, it just doesn't work around here.
Going back to that roller, I know when we put that on social media, I mean, the I-States were like, what is that thing? They had no idea of it. And the Dakotas were going, you guys are all stupid.
Yep.
All right. You mentioned hunting, hiking, your Bob Ross side of you. What are you shooting out there?
I mostly hunt waterfowl anymore. I mean, we have a pretty good deer hunting on our farms. It seems like I don't really get a chance to do it just because of the time of year it is. I do like to gun hunt if possible for deer, but mostly just waterfowl hunt now.
That's a young man's game.
A lot of the farmers I hunt with are in their 60s and 70s. So.
Yeah, but who's the one that's actually getting the boat ready in the morning?
Oh, we field hunt around here. I mean, I'm a land man.
You like your feet on the ground. I did that all through my 20s. I mean, every single day, like I was getting up at like literally like 3 a.m. I felt like a dairy farmer. Get the boat ready, take it over, and then you'd have to go down the river and get to the blind and all that stuff like that. But as I got older, I found out deer hunting was a lot easier.
Yeah. The first time I ever went waterfowl hunting, I was going with a buddy of mine that I deer hunted with, and he's like, "All right, I'll be able to pick you up at 4." I was like, "In the afternoon?" What?
Mainly ducks?
We always throw a goose spread out, and then, I mean, there's always ducks that come into it, but I'd say mostly ducks.
Are you still Mississippi Flyway? What flyway are you in?
We are basically in between the Mississippi and Atlantic flyways, so we're just shooting the lost ducks.
He's shooting the dumb ducks. That just
Pretty much.
But I mean, are you looking at like mallards?
I'd say probably 80% of what we usually have is mallards, and then usually a lot of black ducks, pintails. I mean, just kind of a mixed bag, but mostly mallards, yeah.
See, we never get black ducks. Pintails are pretty rare. No, here, I mean, we're mallards, widgeons. We got wood ducks coming out of our ears, which it seems like everybody else would love to shoot one of those.
Well, see, our wood ducks, they fly the coop long before I ever did. I mean, we have an early season it's in October, and then after that, the wood ducks are gone.
Gotcha. So you've got kids. Are they showing interest? Do they want to go out and sit in the field with Dad?
I think my son is. Well, we went deer hunting every year, me and the two older children, and it's more of an event than actually hunting. I mean, they take their toy guns, they sit there. I mean, they end up usually in an argument halfway through it, and they go home after about an hour. But, I mean, they have fun with it, so I enjoy it.
Yeah, here's the thing. For you new dads out there that are taking kids, especially deer hunting, you're never going to shoot a deer with your kids right there. It's totally worth it, but you just have to get in your mindset that you're not going to shoot a deer, and you're probably going to scare every deer away for, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, my piece of advice would be hunt someplace extremely easy to get to. I mean, that's, like I say, the odds of you shooting anything are slim to none.
No,
So,
and don't let them get cold. I've got a buddy that does not hunt to this day because his dad forced him to go out and he got cold and he just doesn't, he's got no desire to hunt anymore.
yeah.
Getting back to your farming, your YouTube, all that stuff, how important do you think it is for farmers to be doing stuff like this where the general public at least has some sort of an idea of what we do and where their food is made?
I think it's extremely important and valuable. I think it's a great idea. I think if we don't do this, I don't think you're going to change someone's mind that is dead set in their ways, but I do think you're going to influence people that are still making up their minds. Those are the people that I'm talking to whenever I'm making my videos. I think it's a great way just to educate the public on how everything works, how their food's made, what goes into that process. That way they can understand why food costs what it does, and things like that. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I encourage everyone to do it that wants to do it. I would ask that you remember, that you're representing all of us. Take that with some responsibility, but I thoroughly am a fan of it.
So no working words?
I mean, I would try to advise against. Like I say, a lot of kids do watch them. So
yeah, and I think it really just depends on who you're actually after. It goes through all the social media platforms. I mean, yeah, if you're talking just to farmers, I think the working words are just fine. But if you're getting to where like the public is seeing you, that's tricky, because then you're like, well, maybe you should be a little less like yourself. And that's horrible to say, but that's what it is. And that's where I think a lot of people get offended. Well, I've got to be me. It's not that you're trying to hide anything or trying to, portray farming in a different way. You just being less of a jerk. Probably another good thing to maybe think about is don't post at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're in a tractor, because your mind's not working right at all.
Well, I might be guilty of that. Yeah, I might be guilty of that. So.
You think of some weird stuff like in the middle of the night when you're out there by yourself?
Yeah, you hear some weird things too. Like in harvest, I always dump trucks pretty late at night, like midnight to 2 a.m. sometimes. And man, I don't believe in ghosts or anything, but I've I've questioned that a few times. I mean, like I say, you get tired and it's hard to tell what you're going to hear or see.
I think the worst is, that, especially like when you're by yourself, either dumping trucks or you're doing tillage. not as much the combining, because at least you have the auger cart guy there and the trucks or whatever coming. But like when you're out there, it's 2-3 in the morning and you're spent, you're done, but you need to keep going until 6 till the guy comes and takes over or whatever. You think of things that you never thought you would think of before.
Yeah, that's a fact. It's good to get in the tractor and think, but after about a day or two, you're kind of done thinking, and then your mind just goes everywhere. So.
Yes. Wonder what that moon is made of, dude.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much. I know, like with harvest, seems like that first week I'm super excited to get to it, get the combines out, corn's rolling in, everything's peachy, and about 2 weeks into it, I'm like, okay, we're getting there. Stuff's still going along. About 3 weeks into it, like, man, I'd really like to do something else other than this. And about 4 weeks into it, I'm like, let's just finish it.
I am generally that way after 4 days. I just want done. I haven't actually worked for 3 months, and now I just want it over with.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, tell everybody where they can find all your stuff.
Okay, on YouTube, it's just search Brian's Farming Videos. I kept that real original.
Brian's Farming Videos. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that idea at about 2 a.m. in a tractor cab?
I am terrible at naming things. The only thing
we know.
The only thing I ever named was one dog, and it got ran over, so I just gave up after that. But
well, hey, John Wayne, he's the coolest guy around. He named his dog, so I guess maybe Brian's Farming Videos. No, actually, it's a horrible name. You should change that. How just throw in like an adjective or something. Amazing Farming Videos or funny.
It's not bad. And then I'd have to reprint all the shirts and stuff, though, so I don't know.
You kind of dinked yourself, didn't you?
Also on Instagram, I'm pretty active on it. It's also Brian's Farming Videos. And then Facebook, I already had a Facebook page before I had the YouTube channel, so it's actually Brown Farms. Good luck finding it, because if you search Brown Farms, turns out that's a pretty common name. I'm also on Twitter. I don't use Twitter all that often, but it's I think at Brian's Videos.
At Brian's Videos.
At Brian's Farming Videos.
Well, someday the Browns and the Smiths are going to have a civil war, and we're going to see who's really going to take this country over.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you trying to decide which side you're going to be on?
I think I got a pretty good idea.
I'm going Team Smith, by the way.
Oh, man.
Well, Brian, you're doing a good job. I liked your videos. It's just you and a camera, and it's simple, and it's working for you. So congratulations on your success.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and everybody needs to go check it out. It's if you tell me that you've forgotten what the name of his YouTube channels are, I'm going to call you a liar. It's Brian's Farming Videos.
Yep.
Brian Brown, thank you so much for being on, and to everybody else, we hope you catch us next time.
And thank you for listening to the Shark Farmer Podcast. I am your host, Rob Sharkey. Please visit us at www.sharkyfarms.com. And just search for Shark Farmer to follow me on Twitter. Later.
She's totally giving me the look, by the way, Brian. Yeah, she's like, I know the look. The look is, hey, I was telling him we were going to do, and you came in like a jackass.
Oh my goodness. Do we have to do 10 seconds of silence again?
No, we don't. I've got my background.
Should I go get you a cup of coffee?
You know, that
cranky.
That would not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
All right, let's start this thing.